svima. Ja sam Miroslav Milinović iz Agencije za mobilnost i programe Europske unije. Dobrodošli na tematski sastanak korisnika u visokom obrazovanju i digitalizaciji. Ako me čujete, molim vas da samo kratko potvrdite u chat. Aha, u redu, vidim da čujete. Evo, možemo početi. Evo, za početak samo ću zapravo upozoriti da se ovaj sastanak snima. Nadamo se da nećemo imati nekih tehničkih poteškoća i da naše današnje događanje neće podsjećati na ovaj popularni meme o spiritualističkoj seansi. Stoga vas molimo da tijekom sastanka imate isključeni mikrofon i kameru s izuzetkom govornika kako bi poboljšali kvalitetu prijenosa. Evo, vidim da su se mnogi od vas već preimenovali, to nam zapravo pomaže u praćenju sudionika, četa, pitanja i tome slično. Sva pitanja možete postavljati u okno za chat ili također možete zapravo i postaviti pitanje uživo ako vam je tako lakše pomoću opcije raise hand. Pa evo samo još nekoliko uvodnih napomena. Kao što vidite, malo smo promijenili program današnji. Započet ćemo zapravo sa prezentacijom na engleskom jeziku, dok će evo ostatak programa se odvijati na hrvatskom jeziku, dakle sa All Learning Agreement i Erasmus App. Također vidjet ćemo i koji su to potrebni zapravo preduvjeti u Hrvatskoj da bi se novi alati koje ćemo danas predstaviti mogli i implementirati. Pauza predviđena između 11:45 i 12 sati. Nakon pauze zapravo predstavit ćemo nove mogućnosti koje nudi Europass portal. Također i čuti ćemo nešto i o dakle, jednoj, možemo reći i velikoj novosti koja će uskoro biti moguća, a to su Europass Digitally Signed Credentials i iskustvo njihovog pilotiranja u Hrvatskoj. Također čuti ćemo nešto i o virtualnim mobilnostima, odnosno suradnji u virtualnom okruženju. I evo za kraj, dakle, prezentirat ćemo i kratke zaključke. Zašto tematsko događanje, odnosno tematski sastanak? Pa evo svake godine Agencija za mobilnost i programe Europske unije za sve svoje korisnike iz svih sektora organizira zapravo takve sastanke. Evo mi smo ove godine odlučili izdvojiti tematsko događanje upravo za vas, naše korisnike u visokom obrazovanju. I to je baš jednu temu koja nam je jako važna, a to je digitalizacija upravljanja programa Erasmusom+. Budući da će zapravo ti alati koji ćemo danas predstaviti, zapravo njihovo korištenje će biti obvezno u novom programu, dakle 2021. godine. Mi smo zapravo ovo događanje prvenstveno namijenili dakle našim Erasmus koordinatorima, ali također, evo, među vama je danas prisutno i dosta ostalih zapravo djelatnika visokih učilišta koji na neki način sudjeluju u provedbi Erasmus mobilnosti i važno je zapravo da su svi koji su uključeni u taj proces u dovoljnoj mjeri informirani. Također među vama danas ima i dosta sudionika sastavnica neintegriranih sveučilišta. Tu smo zapravo htjeli zamoliti za malo strpljenja. Imajte na umu da će zapravo glavnu ulogu u digitalnoj provedbi Erasmusa imati središnji Erasmus koordinatori. Evo, moguće da danas nećemo još imati sve odgovore na vaše pitanja, dakle o vašoj ulozi i pristupu samim alatima, ali isti se stalno nadograđuju i dalje unapređuju, tako da vjerujemo da će svi zapravo na kraju naći svoje mjesto i ulogu u digitalnom Erasmusu. Pa evo, možemo zapravo ukratko i početi. Evo, ja ću sada prestati dijeliti ove uvodne slajdove, te ćemo se nakratko prebaciti na engleski jezik, a kasnije ćemo nastaviti na hrvatskom jeziku. Now we will switch to English language. We are honored to have with us today Daiga Kuzmane, project coordinator from European University Foundation, to present us some novelties regarding online learning agreement and Erasmus app. Daiga, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. So indeed, like the meme, it's very to the point. I think it's the feeling that we have had quite many times, and actually in the beginning of almost all the meetings. So as the first step, I will try to share my screen. And you will have to actually, the same way as with informing that it worked out, will have to tell me that it also worked with the share.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I will just have to, okay, I'll take this thing away. First things first, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we might have met in the staff week in Split with quite many of you in the attendance. And there was also a presentation from João a couple of weeks ago. Yes, I'm very happy that we can continue these discussions and that, well, this meeting in general is taking place. And all in all, during my presentation, as already announced, I will tackle the online learning agreement, as this is, well, basically the first process that is fully digital in the next program, as well as the Erasmus Plus app that will also very shortly experience substantial updates and is the single point of entry for students. But I will do my best to be, well, quite short with the presentation, but actually leave enough and generous time for the questions and answers. During the presentation, it might be tricky for me to notice them, but yeah, I think, our colleagues will be very helpful and we will be able to tackle them after the slides, basically. So yeah, I will go through the presentation first and then we can have the discussion. And keeping to the point and keeping to the brief standard, very shortly about the EUF of what kind of animal it is. So it's a university network consisting with more than 70 universities, and all in all, the way we work and the way we are basically trying to advance our goals is listening very closely to the universities and what they're saying, and work with this pool of ideas and basically this bottom up and the expertise, of course, that we have and the context and basically take all of this to then further see how we can shape the EU policy. So what are the needs, what are the requirements, and what are basically the key areas that we need to work on and do so together with all of the pool of colleagues that we have across Europe, but also outside of Europe. And so yeah, we have by now offices in Luxembourg and Brussels, but also expanding further to the Budapest and Barcelona. And we are very much results oriented. And the key goal that we are working towards is contributing to the modernization of the European higher education area through the betterment of the student mobility. And as you see, as you see here, the key pillars that we have in our work are quite numerous. It's not just the digitization, but it's also, for example, employability. And the links that we see are key to facilitate between the research and higher education, but also the industry, and also active citizenship and European citizenship and the human rights, as well as the inclusion. And of course, the digitization has somehow taken the key, well, the main place on the stage. But it's also not just the goal, but like the tool that can help us to reach actually get closer to other values that you're working towards and be the facilitator in this process. But yes, anyways, today is about digitization. And when we're talking about that, of course, is the European Student Card Initiative as the umbrella term and as an umbrella basically framework of how this whole process is taking place. And it's then consisting of the projects that are funded from the DG Education and Culture, so the Erasmus Plus, Key Action 2, Key Action 3, but also the specific tenders, as it's for Erasmus Plus app. But also the DG Connect funded initiatives from the Connecting Europe facility. And these are the projects that are very specifically targeting the identifiers and authentications of the different parties that are participating in this process, because of course the first thing is it's key that we are making these systems very robust and scalable and secure. But the second thing is that we are utilizing the structures that are already there. And here I'm talking about the EduGame that is very expanded already, as well as AI, the solution for indeed also authenticating for different services within national context. So, and then when these projects are put together, we have Erasmus Raw Paper as the single point of entry for the student, for the institutions, and connecting the institutions. The Erasmus Plus app as the single point of entry for students. Then this layer of authentication, which is covered by My Academic ID, but now also the new project, this is EDSSI. During the conference in Thessaloniki, we tried also to introduce and tell a bit more about, well, this basically follow-up. And you can also follow the recording that we have on the conference homepage and see the presentations, but also the video. And next to this, so basically the single point of entries, but also the layer of authentication, we have then catering for the student services. So not just administrative process, but also how they can get access and more information about the accommodation options, also Mensa or libraries and other services that are very, very key to the experience, not just when you're abroad and when you're on mobility, but also when you're at home. So this is another layer that, of course, in parallel takes place and is further expanded. And all in all, the key idea is just, making sure that the program is more inclusive and more accessible. It's also, well, digital and forward-looking, making sure that it can be more robust and sustainable and basically, in that sense, more participatory. And, well, within that process, it enhances the compliance. It allows to really, well, have these higher numbers of the students, but also the staff members who can participate in this. And well, improve the quality of the experience, but also the impact that it gives. And effectively, making it easier for everyone to access it. And here, just very briefly, I mean, these are just kind of key aspects of interaction when it comes from the mobility coordinator's standpoint. So it's catering for easier exchange of the student data, but also the reports that are taking place to the mobility tool. And yes, just overall management of all the steps, starting from the establishing agreements and throughout the whole cycles of the mobility. And then, when it comes to the students, again, from A to Z, throughout their experience, that they can find information and they can make the most conscious decisions based on all the data that is, well, and also advices maybe from peers and also from the partner universities, that they can choose the best location for their mobility. And they can have a very enriching experience and also have the recognition processes that are smoothly taking place upon their return. And all in all, holistically take care of all of these steps. So, and yes, so it's all in all a step-by-step roadmap to get to the paperless mobility. And this slide on when exactly the different steps then are becoming fully digital is something that the Commission has communicated since quite some time. COVID did introduce some adjustments here, leading to the interinstitutional agreements being fully digital as of 2022, but the rest of the roadmap has stayed put. So the online learning agreements are fully digital from 2021. And then the nominations, so application to the mobility phase, as well as the transcript of records, is fully digital as of 2023. And I'm sure that also more information will be coming from your national agency as well as from the European Commission to, well, have communicate more details on this. And of course, also in light of the new program, to have more information on how exactly it will work and also what are the new opportunities that are being funded there. And yes, more information will follow basically from them. So, but basically to start with then the online learning agreements as the first step. the biggest news, of course, is that the Learning Agreement platform has experienced complete overhaul and complete rebuild. And it was launched already in the mid of October. And I will tell also more, of course, like this release and well, the decisions that are made there. But before going to the future, it might be worthwhile to take one step back and to the past. And here, I mean, the online learning agreement survey that was carried out among the students, but also among the international relations officers, basically all the different users of student as well as the institution interface. And so, yeah, basically this survey then illustrated the fitness for purpose as well as informed the further updates that then took place. And you can find it in the resource section that we have on the European University Foundation homepage. And yeah, and then you can read more on the findings as well as look through the different kind of parameters. But all in all, is the key findings that we saw from there is, and it was carried out at the end of 2018 till the beginning of 2019. The overall workload and basically the yes, well, the necessity of investment of work that is still necessary to make things work and make things happen is still seen as very, very high. And the introduction of the digital processes is all in all seen as the way of how we can decrease this workload. And when it comes to the students and the satisfaction that they see to the platform that is, well, the student-facing end, it's 91% of the students that were claiming that they would recommend the platform to their peers. And all in all, when we're looking at the institutions, it's 93% of the international relations officers that would see that this turn to digital is the right way to go. And 76% of them would also recommend the dashboard to their colleagues as the tool to use. And basically with this in mind, with different information that we got from it, we worked on the further development of the online learning agreement platform. And here you can see also the new logo and, well, in line with the new interface and the updates that also the front experience, not just the backend. So the launch was, as I mentioned, in the mid of October, and you can again read more in the release notes that we have published on the online learning agreement homepage itself. Next to the about sections, you can find it in one of the tabs. But just to basically highlight and illustrate to you of what was the reasoning and what was the basically the decisions that informed of the current look. So what happened is that this platform was completely rebuilt as the old platform was indeed relatively old when we were looking at the digital infrastructure and the years and how quickly they are passing and what is the impact. Because I mean, of course, like it's the overall infrastructure where any of the systems are embedded is changing so quickly that the speed at which actually everything has to be updated, it's growing only exponentially. So to adapt to this ever-changing environment where everything is embedded, it's of course necessity to constantly and really constantly update and further advance the tools. So the platform was completely rebuilt. So the code base and the backend is basically there's nothing left from the old code. And what it means is that it's much easier to scale and much easier to then further expand and further build on it. Because whenever we need more functionalities, whenever we need to, basically let it grow, it will be so much easier and so much faster to do it. Because of this, indeed, being in line with today's industry standards and yes, speeding things up when it's necessary. This rebuild was completed by the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And well, during the presentation that we had at the Thessaloniki conference, you can also check the presentation that was basically done by the IT team. And also, if you want to hear more details, then they will be able to expand on it. But yes, this overhaul will make things much easier for further adjustments and further connections with the network, with the EWP network, and basically building on it and scaling on it. What it also means that, of course, it's more adjusted to the existing ecosystem around it, and which automatically means that it's also more secure. And yes, of course, when we need to react on things, it's it's much easier and much faster. And what happened also in this focus to the greater security, of course, which lies at the very, very heart of our efforts, it's also the authentication solutions that you saw are adjusted basically for the students now, allowing for either login that is based on EduGain, and it's not just EduGain, but it's actually also eIDAS. So if it's the national authentication systems that are, well, already rolled out, I mean, eIDAS is not rolled out in all the countries, but if it is, then it's also an option. But yeah, but the colleagues at Giant for managing EduGain and EduRoam. So basically, yes, for your students, it shouldn't be an issue to use this authentication solution. If there are any, any hiccups, so to say, in the process, that what needs to be done is basically, there needs to be a troubleshooting with the Giant team. So how it's basically done on the national level, and we can take a look at, in case there are some attributes that are not communicated, maybe there are some values basically that are lacking. But all in all, it should be nice and smooth access, especially for the students in Croatia. But next to the authentication solution for the students, what was also advanced and updated was how exactly the institutions can sign and basically validate the learning agreements. And this has led to the fact that the institutions have to log in the dashboard to be able to verify and sign the learning agreements. It was first thing, indeed, the security decision. As the infrastructure is growing, both on the student but also institution end, it is really a necessity to do so. But the second reasoning for that was also the results that we got from the survey, where the need for the institutions to be in full control of who is doing what and who has the rights to sign the learning agreements, and well, basically, regardless of what the students are indicating in their learning agreements, that it's still institution that has the say in basically determining who can do that. So this was the reasoning behind it. Of course, we are further working on the authentication solution also for the institutions. As of now, it's still the local accounts. We have moved away from this solution for the students. It's no longer the local accounts that are managed on the platform. It's this external EduGain, or for the temporary basically transition phase, also the Google login that will be phased out. But yes, similar approach will be also carried out to the institutions, making sure that when this permission to interact with the learning agreements is given by the main institutional account or anyone who is managing the access, the authentication itself is easier in a sense, already utilizing existing systems, be it the EU login or the EduGain or some other solutions. I mean, eIDAS is option for some countries, but it's not for all. So basically, that's something that we are still seeing of how it could be done in the best possible way. The next aspect is this more transparency and flexibility. And with here, what we mean is, again, reacting on the feedback that we got from the survey and how easy it is to make adjustments to the learning agreements in the, previously known as during mobility phase. That's basically process-wise and time-wise when it happens. But yes, allowing for the student to indeed introduce all the different changes in all of the different values that need to be adjusted. And yeah, basically do so as many times as necessary. And so yeah, this transparency also for the institutions to see all the different versions and be able to easily manage that without polluting the system too much, yet still in line with the requirements of the program, having all the different versions in case it's necessary for the audit processes. So yes, the next aspect is the more student-centered interface, and this is something that is fully on ESN. They are the partners in the project, of course, catering for the dissemination towards the students, but they're also the ones that are working technically on the front end of the learning agreement, and they were fully responsible for basically the interface and I mean, read the colors, but also functionality from that side. So yeah, that's what they aim to do, to make it more lively, to make it also more instructive. So you have seen that there are also new helplines and explaining basically the process to the students, and basically also highlighting throughout the different steps of what it means and how they can be guided maybe and supported throughout the whole thing. And making the online learning agreement future-proof. And with that, again, I have to go back to the full remake of the platform, and yes, making sure and always keeping in mind of what will be the next steps that we have basically in mind. I mean, be it the authentication solution that will be then further expanded, also indication of the not just the institutions, institutional account, but also the faculties that need to be then split. So these were the different logic and different basically use cases that we always had in mind, and basically built what you see now already with kind of a place foreseen and infrastructure already fit for further adjustments that will be needed. And when it comes to further work that we have, actually after the launch, we were also happy that we received rich feedback from your side, and we also managed to address some of the bugs that were already reported. For example, the upload solution. We know that this was something that was not as smooth sailing from the start. The CSV files in general, it's something that we saw from the survey that users are actually hinting at, that for the bulk uploads, especially, that would be a solution that users would prefer. Well, we respected the decision and we went there, but of course, next to the getting used to the new aspect and new approach of how things are done, we had to adjust some tweaks there that needed to be fixed. And we thank you for the feedback and the quick reaction of reporting it and giving us all the different information that is necessary to troubleshoot it and basically react on it. And we are of course also further working on updates when it comes to the filters and easy way of finding students, but also this reintroduction of direct URLs for the learning agreement in question. So this is, as of now, something that is not there, but we actually have it almost out of the door. So in the upcoming days, you can expect it again the same way as previously. When you receive an email on the learning agreement, you'll also be able to have the direct link to the specific learning agreement in question. And yeah, of course, then it's the online learning agreement for traineeships. It's the connection to the Erasmus Plus app. Simpler click to sign solution that is then being built on European Student Identifier, and even more feedback that we have already communicated during the previous webinars, and you will see in the survey. And of course, in line with the new program, adjusting to the new template and the new options that are available to all of the different users. Again, during the Thessaloniki conference, Harper from the European Commission was already presenting some of those opportunities, and you can check it there and you can hear more information there. And so yes, then the further guidance, and I think that this is maybe the biggest elephant in the room that we have, and it's the question of the support. All in all, it's the competence center that allows you to get more information on different tutorials and different guidance, different illustrations of how things work. But this is indeed something that I can really assure you that we are as frustrated as you are, because we really see that like the support structures and the necessity for guidance is not getting the attention that it deserves. And it's something that we have highlighted and red flag to the Commission since a substantial amount of time, that indeed this guidance is needed and is necessary for the successful rollout of the program. And we do hope that, yes, direction will follow and the resources will be intensified for this support to really be able to take place. Because as of now, unfortunately, due to the lack of resources, it's not something that we can tackle to the extent that everyone would really wish to do so. And for now, the way it's possible to submit the queries, the first thing is this found problem feature that you can see already in the Erasmus dashboard. And the way it goes is that you can already communicate more details about yourself. And here I would highlight that it is, you can submit less, but it's always useful for troubleshooting, especially for the bug reports, to have especially screenshots, but also file upload, for example. Please anonymize it then. But that is something that would allow us to follow up on queries and be able to adjust the fixes as swiftly as possible. I also have to highlight here that this found the problem will also be available on the student side, but if you submit the queries from the front page of the Erasmus dashboard before you have logged in, it's completely anonymous, and that would not be something that will be able to follow up. So after you're logged in as in an account, then you would be able to report the problem also with your details for the follow-up. But the second aspect is this help desk. Again, a login would be needed, because then we can follow up back at you. But the key idea is that you can first search through the platform itself and be able to find the different articles that are already catering for the needs and maybe illustrating the different aspects of the question that you might be having. If they're not there, then you can submit the queries via the help desk tickets. You can have different sections and categories there. And again, it's very much appreciated that you share more details, not less, because it really fosters and facilitates the whole process tremendously. And yeah, just to wrap up on the online learning agreement, it is the Erasmus dashboard that is very similar, a key piece of the puzzle, same as support, that also is deserving much more attention than it currently experiences. And we were hoping that throughout 2020 we'll be able to work more on it, but the same way as for the online learning agreement, it's something that we have to work on further scaling and further ensuring robustness and further development. And yeah, I see that it still somehow was very, very time consuming now to go through these slides. I'll be relatively brief with the app. And all in all, it's a project that is now continuing after quite some interruption. The key partners that are working on the app, as you can see here, is the ESN and EUF, as well as the ELTE University. But it's also the subcontractor eWorks that is very experienced in different tenders from the Commission that are doing the bulk of the development work, as well as the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. It is also, we want to highlight that it's a community project, let's call it that way, and different stakeholders are very much involved in the whole process of be it contributing the content, and these are then the student organizations, but also universities and also the Commission itself, of course. But also different service providers. That is the novelty here, via universal API, that they will be able to contribute it. But it's also, of course, like the whole discussion process where the different stakeholders are very much involved. And when it comes to the timeline, I just wanted to highlight that the end of this year is the time when the app will be launched and will be released. The launch event is foreseen right when people are back from the Christmas holidays. So, and in line with the new program kicking in January, basically 2021. And after that, what we are planning is to have series of webinars and basically introduce you to the features and how exactly institutions can use the opportunities. And then in the mid of 2021, we will have the second release, and we'll be able to, I'll tell a bit more on what the second release entails, but that will be if December will be basically app reborn, the second release will have extensive functionalities on, for example, application to mobility, which will be a very big module on its own. And just a few slides just to illustrate some key features of the app. So again, like the authentication solution will be similar to the online learning agreement, based on EU login, well, not EU login on EduGain, but also on EU login for different other target groups like youth and MET. It will have rich content like a public sphere, similar as social media pages that are organized with different tips, stories, discounts, as well as events coming from different stakeholders, as well as this after login part, which is organized mobility journey, illustrating different steps that need to take place, and similar as we have it now in the app with the step-by-step, but this mobility journey would be richer in content and allowing for example, if it's accommodation step, then also connecting information on accommodation, for example, from institutional agreements from the partners. Or if it's the buddy system of Find Your Buddy, then it's also the buddy system service that then can be interlinked with the specific and targeted basically service. So yeah, this is, for example, how more insights of how it could look like, and also map of making sure that all of these public sphere and then different opportunities are easily found. And yeah, basically also allowing for the students to contribute their feedback, their ideas, and also their content. So, and to highlight then for the second release, what we are planning next to the application to the mobility phase, built on institutional agreements data, It will also be the digital European student cards with the basic functionalities for basically utilizing the student services, as well as fully multilingual app and the transcript to record functionality. And of course, ESN is again a part of it, but also EF and our member universities. So dissemination campaign will start at the end of this year to inform basically all the key stakeholders to be contributing to content or communicating to the students, or being able basically to further advance it and be so that the students can use it to the fullest and can co-create it as the time progresses. And as the last slide, the next steps basically is just, well, the first step on Edigain access is, as I checked, is not maybe something that is of utmost importance because it's kind of covered already for Croatian context, as I mentioned. But yeah, it might be the local ESN sections that will be reaching out to you to, well, do it to basically do it together to promote it to the students. But also, you can see how you can try it out yourself and see how it can help for the students. And yeah, participate basically in the launch events that you'll have, but also in the series of webinars and different other sessions that will take place. So more information will follow, and with that, then I will go for the questions and answers.
First of all, Daiga, thank you very much for taking the time and joining us today. I know that you and your colleagues are very busy, so it actually means a lot of us that you were able to join in and share all this information. We have some comments and questions in the chat, and our digital officer, Ivana Kotić, already provided some answers, but I think we could still browse through. So the topic of Edigain and European Student Identifier will be addressed in the next presentation, so no worries there. Also, one of our coordinators asked if you could provide a live demonstration of for online learning agreement, but actually there is a live demo in the recording of the Thessaloniki conference, so there is a link in the chat for everyone to see and to check it out later. It's actually a very good conference, and we would definitely recommend for everyone to view it. Also there were some questions regarding additional accounts for local coordinators at the faculties. I don't know, Daiga, can you see the chat? Did you have?
Yes, I'm going through the chat now, but then I'm wondering which. Yeah, no, I found the question.
So just to briefly, just to briefly summarize. So. Of course, our central Erasmus coordinators at universities, well, they do have access to Erasmus dashboards and other tools, but then there are also local coordinators at the faculties, and I know that this has been the stepping stone for a while now, and there were actually a lot of questions about that.
So yeah, the account question, I think I found it from Maya. So when it comes to the permissions, effectively it is very much up to the different institutions to decide of how it's set up. So the permissions are always based on the different menu options for most of the functionalities. And it's basically the setup that you create for the different roles. I mean, if they are specifically working on institutional agreements, then you can just limit it only to those aspects. The difference that is now being made with the learning agreements is that effectively there's a chance to delegate the signature, because well, to make sure that there is no back and forth because it was the wrong person that was indicated as a signee, but well, in the university themselves internally, they quickly know whom to re-attribute the basically signing rights. The new person will be able to simply open the learning agreement and sign it, and there the correct responsible person, the name and the email and everything will be then recorded on the learning agreement. So effectively the permission that is key to, well, attribute correctly is either viewing learning agreements or managing the learning agreements. Viewing will be static. People will be able to see the student lists and maybe just, I don't know, do comments or be able to keep track on things. But managing learning agreements means that effectively they can sign any of the learning agreements there. But indeed, this is to facilitate that we don't have the back and forth with who is the right person, but the institutions can basically see for themselves and also invite the user, well, invite the staff members, the correct staff members to sign it. The second thing that we are now, and really it's almost out of the door, the functionality, that there will be direct links to the specific learning agreement, which means that if you need to communicate with your colleagues, you can open the specific learning agreement, and this URL that you will have, you'll be able to send it to your colleague. And they'll have to log in, but when they log in, they will only see this learning agreement, and they will not need to get lost maybe in filters or like, is it the old learning agreements in OLA 2 or OLA 3? But very clearly, this is the student in question, and then they will be able to effectively sign it or decline it or whatever is necessary. So these direct URLs are coming back very, very shortly.
Yeah, there's also some concern regarding privacy of the information. So local coordinators will not be able to see all the data, will be able to see just the learning agreements for certain students that concern them. So there's actually no concern regarding GDPR. And also there is an additional webinar. Our colleague even also provided the link in the chat. But there's another question from Ida. So managing OLA is a new role. I did not see it in the system. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I'm sorry, Ida,
so yes,
can you please elaborate a bit?
Yeah, no, I think I know. So it's not a new role. It's basically the set of permissions. So roles consist of different sets of what the role can do, and this managing students will be one of the basically features. You can go to my settings page that will allow you to see, okay, who am I and what permissions basically my role has, and that will be one of them. But what I wanted to clarify from the one step before. So institutions as of now, the staff accounts effectively have access to all of the things that are in the institutional account. The split between the faculties is something that we are further looking into introducing. For now, what's the discussions that we have had with the compliance officers and also the institutions, the agreements and well, the work contractual relationships that people have with their institutions basically allows for this to be a safe and secure system. And the distinction, I know that especially when the system grows, there are so many learning agreements, it is much easier to have the split and see just my faculty and quickly, okay, I'm not bothered by for all the others. So it's work in progress. So it's just that when it comes to faculties, it is a feature that also has to work for other parts. And when you're thinking, for example, the interinstitutional agreements, it's something we have to really think through, because if the split for different faculties is exactly the same for interinstitutional agreements as they are for managing learning agreements, and that's something we want to make sure that there is really no, well, the system works in sync in both ways. At the same time kind of caters for the needs of both the interinstitutional agreements, but as well as the learning agreements.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So as you said, it's a work in progress, and things are constantly progressing. It's sometimes even hard for us to keep track and find all the novelties and news. We have some additional time. Are there any questions? I think this is a great opportunity for our Croatian coordinators. Well, maybe in the meantime, I do have a question. Daiga, can you rate the progress of the achieved so far? Is it what you expected? I mean, considering the technical development and of course the number of HEIs across Europe that joined in and is actively participating, and do you feel that the COVID crisis had any impact on both technical development or motivations of HEIs to join in?
Well, that's quite a question. So I think, I mean, when it comes to the COVID crisis, it's, I mean, it's impossible to not have that in equation and not to have an impact, because it's not just the developers in any of the teams, but well, when they are working on these solutions that are basically publicly available solutions. But I mean, for even the local systems, when they are connecting to the network, I mean, the efforts that need to be put by the same IT team that typically would work on this connection to the network now had to be put on ensuring that everyone can work from home, or they can have a good way of having the learning materials that are available to the students and the staff members. So I mean, I think it definitely has added an impact. All in all, and this is another aspect that I would want to highlight actually. So more updates on the timeline and the publication of the online learning agreement new template in the new program. It actually will be published on the Competence Center shortly. So, and this is my encouragement to all the local teams to basically see this new template, because what will need to happen is that their local systems have to be adjusted to the new template, and then also connection to the network, connection to this API needs to take place. So this process will be quite intensive. So I mean, it is a pity that the template finalization, well, it took as much time as it took. I mean, of course, like the COVID had a toll also on the commission and the processes that took place, but this will be the next very intensive task that all of the providers and local systems, and of course us, the adjustments to the new template will need to take place, because of course, when we're talking about interoperability, it has to be one template that everyone is exchanging. And this will be the next challenge that everyone will have to face. And so indeed, be the provider that you would need to inquire. Of course, we'll have also the meetings with the providers discussing the new specifications of the API together with the commission, but also the local systems. With the COVID, it might be a challenging task, but it will need to take place. And yeah, as I mentioned during the presentation as well, we tried to voice the concerns also in the national agency meeting. But the work that would need to be invested for robustness of the infrastructure that is growing so quickly, and effectively for supporting all the different universities on the public solution as well as via the support structures, is something we really think that European Student Card Initiative and the Commission really has to pay much more attention to. And it's of interest of everyone that indeed more robust funding lines are put in place, because as you know, I mean, the online learning agreement was a project that started from key action to strategic partnership. And I mean, I'm sure that all of you have done the strategic partnership, and you see how, well, it's a fantastic opportunity to try out things, but I mean, it's a very tricky thing to scale. I mean, of course, the Luxembourg National Agency has supported us, and it's second and third iteration, but it's still a very limited way. So it's, yeah, our wish indeed would be that there is much more resources to cater for the needs of yes, different users, and also indeed the support is quite a painful topic.
Okay, we have another question. Yes, this is it's quite an old concern regarding students who have double major. This is actually quite a local issue with our students of social sciences and humanities. It's usually quite challenging for them to organize their mobilities, but how to implement it in tools, and considering online learning agreements, and of course they have more than one ECTS coordinator, more than one signatories who have to prove their learning agreement. I suppose there are other countries that have double majors as well. So do you have any input on that?
Yeah, well, this is quite an interesting topic, and well, of course, very important to tackle. So during the discussions that we had, well, basically throughout the summer, the way the new template was finalized, basically Commission had the working, well, they consulted the working group of ECTS and the working group of Key Action 1, so basically the mobilities. And they tried to understand, I mean, what are the adjustments that need to be made in the template. And yes, the double majors and basically the more of the signatures was something that was communicated by, I don't remember now from which of the national parties or which of the stakeholders from those working groups. But I mean, effectively the discussions that took place then within the working groups and also from the Commission, they are going in the direction of simplification, and they would, basically the encouragement and the idea is that the process of the confirmations, and if there is more than one, would need to basically take place in such a way that in the end, student still has a clarity and, well, in the end, one signature. This was the final template that they confirmed. When it comes to procedure of how exactly they imagine, well, Commission imagines, and how exactly you could adjust your procedures, or how you can inquire the Commission how they would advise you to do it, I would really actually encourage you to get in touch with them, because well, the decision was made to finalize the template in this way. So yeah, basically for the process of how indeed they would advise you to do, I think it's maybe a way to follow up to get, well, basically check with these working groups and check with the Commission's opinion. The infrastructure, as you know, I mean, it's a public one, so we are reflecting basically the public template, well, the official template. Therefore, it's tricky to ensure such kind of flexibility. I know that what has happened actually, and within the institutions here in Croatia, and I think I actually heard this example of how you catered for it in one of the staff weeks, that basically this was a time frame that was allocated for one of the signees to basically be able to comment on it. So basically this time frame was the way of getting the confirmation, and then if there are no objections, it kind of means that it's confirmed, and the next signee can continue, as basically it's the previous one is seen as confirming. I know that this is an approach. I think it might be still exercised here, but yeah, when it comes to the public infrastructure, for now it's really tricky for us to see how we could adjust it for the several signatures. It's really ensuring the robustness of the online learning agreement and the dashboard that we have to work on. So basically covering the basis, and then we can see, I mean, with different open source, as you know, also open source University Alliance is an existing initiative of how the public tools can be enriched with more specific features that then could potentially cater for more specific cases as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, this is a specific problem for certain types of faculties in Croatia, but then again, organizing student mobility takes a lot of agreements and corporations in the institution itself. So everyone has to work as little cogs in one big machine, and be flexible as much as possible. So I can imagine that this faculties can, faculty can actually brought a decision for the whole institution to minimize procedures possible, and probably agree which coordinator will sign, or just agree on one signatory, and provides some minimal requirements to cater for the needs of such students. And I'm sure that this could be arranged if there is just enough goodwill and flexibility in the institution. I know this is always very hard, but it's in the interest of students. So I'm sure that they'll be able to provide some provisions. So thank you, Daiga, very much. I see there's just one more. I think we have just a little bit enough time to answer one more question. So is it possible now for them to choose more than one study field in online learning agreement? Students do.
Yes, so basically more than one ISKIT code. I think for now, the way we have been discussing the template, it is limited to one, but what Commission has added within the new template, that there is basically this clarification field. There will be this open comment box basically, and it serves for both purposes. It's the first, I mean, clarifying the ISKIT codes. They are very often very well not telling much, so explaining what exactly it means, but also adding more. Well, if it's more than one ISKIT code, basically this open comment box in the new template will allow for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to answer the last question, yes, of course, the presentations and the recording of this event will be provided afterwards to participants. So I will actually close this session so far. We are just right on time. So thank you again, Daiga, for joining us today. And hopefully we'll be able to meet sometime in the near future and some live events.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. And indeed, thank you so much for the invitation, and wishing you a productive rest of the day. And I think we'll be very much in touch. And I'm a pleasure to work also together with Ivana. And like, if the summary of the session, or if there are more discussions that we need to follow up on that, yes, we are all ears, and we'll be happy then to further work together. I'm
sure that our HEAs will send a lot of questions to European University Foundation, so no worries there.
That's for sure. But yeah, so wishing you a nice day, and then hopefully we can see each other in different events then. All the best.
Goodbye, Daiga. Thank you.
Bye.
Evo sad se ponovno prebacujemo na hrvatski. Vidim da je naš sljedeći govornik već u niskom startu. Pa evo pozivam Miroslava Milinovića iz Sveučilišnog računalskog centra Sveučilišta u Zagrebu da nam se pridruži i podijeli svoju prezentaciju. Zapravo smo eto već na neki način i načeli njegovu zapravo temu, to je vezano sa European Student Identifier, odnosno u stvari koji su to još nekakvi preduvjeti koji su na nacionalnoj razini potrebni za korištenje svih ovih alata. Gospodine Milinoviću, jeste li tu s nama?
Jesam, dobar dan. Trebali biste vidjeti moju sliku.
Evo, vidimo vas.
Umjesto nje zanimljivija će, vjerujem, biti prezentacija. Pa se nadam da sam i nju evo uspješno podijelio, što vas molim da mi potvrdite. Dakle, dobar dan svima. Onda, evo, da ne duljim previše, naslov prezentacije je ovak možda nekom kriptičan, taj ESI, to je European Student Identifier. Pa evo, dozvolite ukratko za početak, volio bih podsjetiti, Srce Sveučilišni računski centar je zapravo središte e-infrastrukture za znanost i visoko obrazovanje u Republici Hrvatskoj. Mi zapravo nudimo 50-ak usluga, od kojih mnoge kao na nacionalnoj razini prepoznajete, poput ISU-a, ISSP-a, sustava za e-učenje Merlin, posredničkog sustava EduHR i tako dalje. Ova je prezentacija u principu usmjerena na to da vam predstavi rezultate projekta My Academic ID i nastavit će na neki način ono što ste čuli od kolegice iz European University Foundationa. Što je projekt o kojem govorimo? Projekt My Academic ID imao je temeljni cilj kreirati Europski studentski identifikator, ESI, a taj bi trebao omogućiti ili omogućuje sigurnu i nesmetanu razmjenu podataka između visokih učilišta u Europi, a sve zato da bi aplikacije kao što je, na primjer, Online Learning Agreement mogle dobro funkcionirati, da bi se taj komplet, ta skupina, set aplikacija u području digitalizacije mobilnosti, općenito digitalizacije procesa u području visokog obrazovanja mogao dobro provoditi. Dakle, projekt My Academic ID, što ste isto mogli čuti od kolegice prethodnog predavača, je zapravo dio neke šire inicijative vezane uz digitalizaciju procesa koje eto mi rado prepoznajemo kao Erasmus+, jer je to nekakav krovni program Europske komisije, ali tu su Erasmus Without the Paper, pa European Student Card Initiative, dakle niz inicijativa koje trebaju proizvesti digitalna rješenja, dakle aplikacije, a koje bi se onda trebali ili morale osloniti u svom autentikacijskom sloju na postojanje tog ESI-a, odnosno rezultate projekta My Academic ID. My Academic ID je projekt koji je koordinator također bio EUF i imao je 13 partnera, završava krajem ove godine, dakle još mjesec dana i projekt je gotov. Srećom, evo i rezultati su tu, a Srce se projektu priključilo tijekom 2020. godine umjesto partnera koji nije uspio isporučiti ono što eto mi jesmo, pa smo eto malo i ponosni na to. Kako izgleda sustav, odnosno nekakav landscape, okolina informacijskih sustava u znanosti i visokom obrazovanju, eto, ne bih previše detaljizirao o tome. Svi mi znamo da uz informacijske sustave ustanova postoje nacionalni, kao što su ISU, ISSP, Mozvag, da postoji i sustavi u znanosti, ne samo u visokom obrazovanju, se trenutno gradi Crosby, da osim toga postoje i nacionalni sustavi koji su izvan samog sustava znanosti i visokog obrazovanja, sve to skupa povezano, a u posredničkom smislu, u smislu elektroničkih identiteta, uz taj sustav e-eduhr, koji garantira posjedovanje elektroničkog identiteta svakom članu akademske zajednice, imamo i nacionalni identifikacijski sustav NIAS, vezano uz e-građane, koji je povezan sa europskim pandanom koji se zove EIDAS. S druge pak strane, e-eduhr povezana je sa globalnim sustavom koji povezuje takve sustave elektroničkih identiteta i koji se zove EduGen. To je dakle ono u čem funkcioniramo. I nacionalni sustavi koji su interesantni u kontekstu digitalizacije i projekta Maja Akademika D, prije svega su e-eduhr, kao što sam rekao, zatim ISU koji sadrži, kao što znate, podatke o studijima i studentima, pa koji onda mogu biti podijeljeni sa drugim globalnim ili europskim sustavima, upravo zahvaljujući tome što ISU posjeduje sučelje, programsko sučelje, takozvani ISU REST API, koje omogućuje razmjenu informacija s drugim informacijskim sustavima, ono što bismo onak jednostavno rekli automatski, dakle bez da netko upisuje ručno ili prepisuje, što je još gore, podatke iz jednog sustava u drugi. I na kraju tu je taj ISSP, odnosno informacijski sustav studentskih prava, koji osim o studentskim pravima sadrži podatke o studentskim iskaznicama, odnosno iksicama. Pa se onda na neki način jasno povezuje sa inicijativama za evropske studentske kartice, odnosno iskaznice, bile one virtualne ili stvarne fizičke. Sad, European Student Identifier, Europski studentski identifikator. Projekt Maja Akademika D zapravo imao je za cilj definirati njegovu sintaksu i semantiku, dakle o čem se stvarno radi, kako ćemo ga zapisivati, gdje ćemo ga zapisivati, kako ćemo njim baratati. Ideja je da jednoznačno identificira studenta u informacijskom prostoru, dakle da to bude nešto poput, ne znam, OIB-a na kojeg smo navikli. Format zapisa je eto takva nekakva kriptična linija koju vidite na slajdu, ne bi se trebalo njome zamarati. Ovaj čas je važno razumjeti suštinu. Dakle, želi se nešto što će jednoznačno identificirati studenta u informacijskom prostoru i eto, sretna okolnost za Hrvatsku, pa onda i za projekt Maja Akademika D je da je kod nas takav identifikator već postoji. I to, ne usudim se reći 20 godina, reći ću 15-ak, obzirom na to da je jedinstveni matični broj akademskog građana ili takozvani JMBAG uveden sa idejom uvođenja studentskih iskaznica, odnosno iksica, a tome ima 15 godina. Kako je napravljen ISSP koji se tada zvao informacijski sustav studentske prehrane. I taj jedinstveni identifikator je doista jedinstven na razini zemlje, što je, ko želi više saznati o njemu, eto, tu je jedna poveznica na slajdovima, pa eto, možete tamo naći kako se konstruira i tako dalje. Međutim, za JMBAG je karakteristično i važno da se dodjeljuje jednom kad uđete u sustav. Dakle, onog časa kad postanete brucoš, ajde reći ću na primjer, na Medicinskom fakultetu u Osijeku, dobili ste JMBAG. Dakle, prvi put kad uđete u sustav. Nakon toga JMBAG vas prati, završili ste medicinu u Osijeku, ali ste odlučili, ne znam, zbog nekog razloga ponoviti istu priču u Rijeci ili studirati ekonomiju u Splitu, JMBAG ide za vama, prati vas. Dakle, čitav vaš akademski život, JMBAG je s vama. I to je, eto, nestandardna, ali za ovaj slučaj kvalitetna situacija. U velikim zemljama poput Francuske ili Njemačke identifikator postoji na razini sveučilišta, a neka sveučilišta ne mogu ni to osigurati, odnosno nemaju ni to osigurano. Tako da je činjenica da ESI postoji i da ga zapravo JMBG možemo proglasiti ESI-em zapravo izvrsna stvar za nas i onda eto mi možemo JMBG naprosto dijeliti sa informacijskim sustavima u okolini kao ESI. I to je zapravo temeljni rezultat, temeljni ostvareni rezultat projekta. E sad, šta smo konkretno napravili? Dakle, ovo je nekakva, rekao bih, grafika koja predstavlja koncept projekta My Academic ID. Dakle, ideja je da kroz nekakvu središnju točku se korisnik može autenticirati, odnosno prijaviti u niz usluga, odnosno aplikacija putem interneta, a tu su Erasmus Without Plus, Online Learning Agreement, PhD Hub i tako dalje, dakle čitav niz usluga, odnosno projekata koji su trebali ili su već razvili takve usluge i prilikom prijave prenosi se njegov ESI kako bi te aplikacije mogle evidentirati, odnosno jednoznačno prepoznati tu osobu, odnosno tog studenta. Mi eto koristimo u prijavi A1HR elektronički identiteta, tom prijavom uz ostale podatke o osobi prenosi se i JMBG u formatu koji ga karakterizira kao da se radi o ESI-u. Korisnici naravno mogu koristiti eIDAS u Hrvatskoj, to zapravo znači da morate imati NIAS vjerodajnice ili kroz NIAS pristupiti, međutim tad naravno informacija o ESI-u neće biti prenesena. Sustavi iz kojih se crpe dodatne informacije su, opet ponavljam, ISU i ISSP. Ili ako hoćete drugačije, evo ova slika zapravo pokazuje to isto, međutim uz naglasak da eto ovdje je jasnije definirano, u sredini slike vidite nekakav My Academic ID SP proxy. Dakle, postoji nekakva točka čvorište koji će povezati sve elektroničke identitete pojedine osobe i prikupiti informacije koje su potrebne, a eto naš sustav A1HR isporučuje o studentu njegovo ime, pripadnost ustanovi, mail adresu i JMBG, odnosno naravno i status da se radi o studentu. Ovdje je posebno označena ova kućica Online Learning Agreement, jer kao što ste čuli, OLA, ja ću eto biti kratak, OLA je trenutno u produkciji. Pa to u produkciji izgleda otprilike ovako, dakle ovo je naslovni ekran kojeg dobijete kad ukucate www.learning-agreement.eu i negdje dole, evo crveno označeno piše želim se prijaviti u sustav. Pa kad kliknete na to želim se prijaviti u sustav, otvori se ovakav ekran na kojem onda birate da se želite prijaviti kroz sustav EduGain. Dakle, nakon toga pojavljuje se ekran My Academic sa ovom oznakom, logom My Academic ID, u kojeg u plavu kućicu student ili ko već može pokušati upisati informaciju o svom davatelju usluga, o davatelju identiteta. Pa dovoljno upisati AI, otvorit će se podizbornik na kojem piše A1HR Single Sign-On Service. Kliknete li na to, otvorit će se standardni mehanizam, odnosno standardni ekran prijave u sustav A1HR i ako upišete naravno ispravne korisničke podatke, username i password, dobit ćete pristup sustavu OLA. Ovo bih vam mogao sad i demonstrirati, ali obzirom na vrijeme koje neumitno curi, odlučio sam se složiti ovaj niz ekrana, ali ako bude vremena, ako želite, možemo to i uživo pokazati. Za potrebe ove prezentacije mogu postati student na sekundu, makar ta vremena su za mene, bojim se, prošla. Dakle, koje je stanje i koji su sljedeći koraci? Sustav A1HR ovaj čas je produkcijski povezan sa sustavima EduGain i eIDAS i u principu tko god ima elektronički identitet u sustavu A1HR, a to bi trebali biti svi studenti i svi nastavnici svih ustanova u visokom obrazovanju, bez obzira bili to fakulteti, sveučilišta, samostalna visoka učilišta, privatna ili javna, svi to mogu imati. Tko nema, AI.hr je adresa na koju se u tom smislu može javiti i pitati zašto ja nemam, pa ćemo otkriti zašto ne. I u principu svi posjednici takvih elektroničkih identiteta mogu koristiti sve usluge u sustavu EduGain, dakle i sve ove o kojima je kolegica prije mene govorila. Sustav AI.hr tim uslugama isporučuje JMBG, nebitno je ovaj čas tehnološki kako to radi, ali isporučuje JMBG kao European Student Identificator u traženom formatu. Mi pritom koristimo, ovo je sad informacija za one koji tehnički žele znati više, koristimo iz LDAP imenika pojedine matične ustanove, vrijednost atributa HREDU Person Unique Number koji mora imati prefiks JMBG i sve u skladu sa standardom koji je opisan na ovoj web poveznici. Pri tome AI.hr isporučuje i sve ostale atribute s ovih prethodnih slika spomenute, koji su nužni za rad servisa u onom što je kolegica nazvala EDSSI ili European Digital Student Services Infrastructure. Dakle, radi se o setu usluga i odgovarajućih posredničkih mehanizama u kojima je OLA zapravo prvi u nizu, slijede Erasmus Without a Paper, PhD Hub, Erasmus Hub za studente i ajde, da ja sad ne nabrajam šta se sve može uključiti u taj sustav. Jednostavno rečeno, dakle, ako ustanova održava elektroničke identitete kroz ISVU, onda se taj JMBG automatski putem ISVU-a zapiše u LDAP imenik vaše matične ustanove. Student, kad se prijavi putem AI.hr u neki od EDSSI servisa, u principu njegovi podaci se prenose putem AI.hr središnjih servisa nekoj od usluga iz oblaka, na primjer OLA usluzi. Pritom se obavi ta transformacija JMBG-a u ESI, to je samo tehnička stvar, ne mijenja se sadržaj, mijenja se njegov način zapisivanja. I na taj način u principu svi studenti ovaj čas mogu koristiti OLA uslugu za početak. E sad, što je na vama ili na svima nama? Dakle, visoko učilište treba osigurati da je ažuran podatak o JMBG-u studenta zapisan u LDAP imeniku te ustanove. Čovjek se pita šta bi ja sad trebao napraviti. Provjerite to. A ako visoko učilište održava LDAP imenik kroz ISVU, a takvih ima, onda se JMBG automatski zapisuje u imenik i zapravo ne morate ništa provjeravati. Uživajte u tome da stvari rade. Ako visoko učilište ne održava LDAP imenik kroz ISVU, onda ako ste korisnik ISVU-a, odlučite se na taj korak. Mislim da nam se evo nedavno u tome pridružio neki fakultet iz Osijeka. Oprostite kolege, ne mogu, ovaj čas nemam pri ruci informaciju, mislim da je kineziološki u pitanju, ali evo, isprika. Mogu provjeriti nakon što završim prezentaciju. Ako pak ne koristite ISVU, nego koristite neki drugi sustav za upravljanje podacima o studentima i studijima, na raspolaganju vam je ISSPRS API, možete pokupiti JMBG odatle i prenijeti ga u LDAP imenik. Naravno, tu treba malo aktivnosti vašeg internog IT-a, ali srce će rado pomoći pri inicijalnoj sinkronizaciji u tom slučaju. Što se studenata tiče, oni također mogu nešto provjeriti, dakle na raspolaganju je usluga moj.ai.edu.hr, pomoću te web poveznice mogu provjeriti podatke svog elektroničkog identiteta i tam se jasno vidi da li je nekom upisan JMBG u podatke njegovog AI.edu.hr identiteta i da li je točan JMBG, student može saznati između ostalog putem svoje iksice, odnosno pristupom u sustav ISSP. I studenti odmah, dakle danas, prema podacima koje su mi poslali kolege, nekoliko studenata je već probalo OLA iz Hrvatske. Već danas mogu koristiti sve servise iz EDSSI infrastrukture, za početak spomenuti online learning agreement. Evo, toliko od mene. Više informacija između ostalog i o radionici koju smo na ovu temu održali prije pa malo više od mjesec dana. Možete naći na ovoj poveznici. Kontakt adresa je myid@srce.hr. Eto, toliko u najkraćim crtama i u nadi da nisam potrošio previše vremena.
Niste. Puno vam hvala gospodine Milinoviću. Mi smo svakako zahvalni srcu što se uključilo u projekt My Academic ID, pa evo čuli ste i pohvale iz EUF-a, to je svakako evo dobra vijest za sve nas. S obzirom da još imamo malo vremena, a kako evo ne vidim pitanja u chatu, ako možete gospodine Milinoviću samo možda ukratko u živu demonstraciju koju ste spomenuli ranije prikazati.
Evo, probat ću. Sekundu. Dakle, samo malo da pripremim stvar pa ću podijeliti ekran sa vama. Mislim da mogu. Vidite li sad ekran mog web brausera?
Vidimo.
Dobro. Dakle, ovdje sad piše, to je ta naslovna stranica. Ja ću sad kliknuti na Login to access your learning agreement. I ovdje piše moj account. Dakle, biram Login with your academic credentials EduGain. I tu je taj prozor, My Academic ID prozor. Ja ću sad probat upisati AI, sam upisao. Evo, tu je AI Edu Hire Single Sign-on Service. Pojavilo se, ja sam trenutno prijavljen u neke druge servise, umjesto prozora pojavit će se samo informacija uspješno ste autenticirani i eto, tu sam, sad mogu dalje kompletirati podatke, ovo mi je prvi put da sam se prijavio, pa mogu dalje kompletirati podatke i ići dalje kroz sustav online learning agreementa. Sad tu aplikaciju dalje doista ne bih komentirao, velim, moji studentski dani su prošli, nažalost, tako da, evo, studenta baš ovaj čas dalje ne bih. Ali, ako iko ima pitanja ili problema vezano uz ovu priču, stojimo na raspolaganju, srce stoji na raspolaganju, posebno ako nije jasna ta veza JMBG-ESI, velim, ona je 1 na 1, ali ako nije jasno kako postići da se JMBG isporučuje prilikom autentikacije, još jedanput dovoljno je samo osigurati da se publicira na pravi način u LDAP imeniku ustanove. Ako to nije jasno, AI@srce.hr je prava adresa ili ova koja je na slajdovima, pitajte, razjasnit ćemo, velim, dio ustanova to već ima, zahvaljujući tome što održavaju LDAP imenike, dakle svoje elektroničke identitete kroz ISVU. Kogod želi i to raditi, i ta stvar je de facto automatizirana, na slajdovima ima ona adresa isvu.edu.hr, dakle pogledajte tamo, naćete svoju ustanovu i u njezinom statusu. Nekako sam dojma da je ovdje jako važno neke stvari ponavljati više puta. Naša zajednica je jako, kako da kažem, distribuirana, heterogena, tu su fakulteti, sveučilišta, visoka učilišta, visoke škole i tako dalje i često neke informacije ne dođu do pravih ušiju u pravo vrijeme, pa evo možda sam neke stvari ponovio više puta, ali eto, s najboljom namjerom da evo, informacija dođe do onih do kojih bi trebala. Srce će inače, još dopustite jednu rečenicu, Srce inače nastoji uključiti se u razvoj tog EDSSI, odnosno European Digital Student Services Infrastructure, na što je moguće aktivniji način, dakle i podijeliti informacije iz ISVA i SSP-a sa tim središnjim sustavima, koliko god to bude moguće, a pošto projekt već ima svoj nastavak, evo najavljujem da se Srce uključilo i bit će partner na EDSSI 2.0 projektu, ako ga Europska komisija odluči financirati, što ćemo saznati vrlo brzo, dakle to bi trebalo početi u drugoj polovici iduće godine.
Evo ima jedno zanimljivo pitanje, može li OLA povući popis kolegija iz ISU sustava? Pretpostavljam da to ovisi i o tome individualnom održavanju pojedinog visokog učilišta, a pretpostavljam da je potreban neki API za to, ako možete komentirati.
Mogu. Dakle, jako korisnik, dakle, ako se sjednemo u vaše stolice, reći ću OLA to mora. Ali da bi OLA to mogla, OLA mora razviti ili mi, ili OLA neko mora razviti mehanizam kojim će povlačiti stvari iz ISU-a. ISU, kao što znate, ima taj REST API mehanizam i nama u srcu nije strano informacijskim sustavima osigurati interoperabilnost. Dakle, upravo zato sam i rekao da se uključujemo u taj EDSSI koncept i infrastrukturu s namjerom da osiguramo upravo to što želite, dakle, odnosno predlažete ili pitate. Dakle, naš je cilj ne samo u OLU, nego u Erasmus Without the Paper i sve ostalo, gurat informacije ako one postoje na ispravan način zavedene u ISU. Pri tome, da, u pravu ste, doista ovisi o tome jeste li ih evidentirali u ISU na odgovarajući način, dakle da li su potpune, pitanje jezika, ne mogu ovaj čas komentirati dovoljno. Međutim, naš tim na tome radi, ne mogu demonstrirati nešto takvo, treba nam naravno i suradnja druge strane, ali upite vezane uz tu temu svakako šaljite na isvoje.hr ili opet na adresu koju ste vidjeli na slajdovima, jer u svemu tome nam naravno treba i vaša pomoć, vaše podatke znate najbolje vi. Dakle, ako mi izguramo neke podatke u OLA i oni ispadnu nedovoljno dobri, onda mi to nećemo znati bez vaše pomoći.
Evo vidim da profesor Đelalije postavio slično pitanje, ali za ishode učenja, ali pretpostavljam da to ovisi o tome da li su zavedeni ishodi učenja u ISU pod odgovarajući kolegij.
Dakle, ne znam koliko je ISU koordinatora među vama ili među trenutnim slušateljima, ali podsjetio bih da je ISU nedavno, ove godine objavio novi modul visoka učilišta koji obuhvaća prezentaciju studijskih programa podataka studijskih programa po visokim učilištima, dobio je i englesku varijantu, odnosno englesko sučelje, i tu su zapravo podaci o kojima govorimo. Ne? Dakle, ovaj čas možete osobno provjeriti za svoje visoko učilište, za svoj fakultet, sveučilište, visoku školu, možete provjeriti da li su informacije koje su trenutno u ISU onakve kakve biste željeli da pređu ili trebaju preći u OLA, a ako nisu, da, treba ih popravljati. I da, naša je namjera upravo ide u tom smjeru, omogućiti, eto, na primjer, ne znam, srce u sustavu hrvatskih kvalifikacija, dakle HKO razmijenio sa European Qualification Frameworkom informacije o kvalifikacijama, na isti način, istom tehnologijom, istim rješenjima možemo to činiti i sa drugim sustavima, ali za to nam trebaju ne samo tehnička rješenja, nego i podaci i suradnja vaša, na tome da podaci budu kvalitetni. Ispravni, ajde da tako kažem.
Puno vam hvala na ovoj odličnoj prezentaciji i svim odgovorima. Vjerujemo da će vas neki naši korisnici zatrpati sa pitanjem, pa evo, molimo za strpljenje.
Sve u redu.
Mislim da imamo još samo jedno možda pitanje vezano za englesko sučelje. Da li to znači da se više neće trebati prevađati na hrvatski? Aha, ISU.
Da, to je pitanje za ISU, ali nisam baš razumio točno. Dakle, englesko sučelje, prevodimo što? Sučelje ko takvo je i na hrvatskom i na engleskom. Podaci su na jeziku na kojem su osigurani, ne?
Evo, inače imamo puno pitanja uvijek vezano za ISVU, agencija nema pristup tome, pa evo, nažalost, ne možemo tu nijako pomoći, ali evo, svako urgiramo visoka učilišta da se zapravo onda njihovi izvor koordinatori onda jave na prave adrese.
Možemo. Utoliko što smo mi, evo, isto tako ove godine uveli mehanizam nekakvih, zovimo to webinara, dakle online sastanaka ISVU koordinatora i otvaramo mogućnost ISVU koordinatorima da uz ostalo predlaže teme koje žele. Ako smijem, trebaju mi barem 2 da. Dakle, da li biste na idućem od tih webinara htjeli više čuti o mogućnostima ISVU vezanom upravo uz ovu problematiku?
Znam da imamo barem nekoliko ISVU koordinatora ovdje danas.
Pa dajte mi bar 1 ili 2 da mogu ISVU timu prenijeti informaciju da bi to bila zanimljiva tema. Za, recimo, webinar u siječnju. Naravno, bit će najavljen svim ISVU koordinatorima, svi će biti pozvani, ali evo, stalno tražimo od zajednice teme, pa je tema koju je gospođa, evo čitam chat, ali neuspješno, Ogulinec, tako je, ako je svima interesantna ili većini interesantna, svakako ćemo je, evo ja ću pribilježiti, pa kud puklo da puklo. Nadam se da neće biti prazna prostorija, virtualna prostorija.
Odlično, puno vam hvala. Takve teme su uvijek vrlo korisne i vrlo dobro došle. Pa ako evo nemamo daljnjih pitanja, mislim da možemo zaključiti ovu sesiju. Ali evo prije same pauze imamo jedan kratak upit za sve vas. Pa ću zamoliti kolegicu Teu da pokrene poll. Evo, među vremenu se zahvaljujem gospodinu Milinoviću na sudjelovanju, puno vam hvala. Vjerojatno ćemo se i dalje čuti u nekim drugim prilikama, možda vezano i za nastavak ovog nastavak projekta EDSSS. Evo, puno vam sreće u svemu tome. Evo, sam molim vas za još malu minuticu koju.
Dobar dan svima, nadam se da se čujemo. Jasmina opet mi ne da pokrenuti ove polove, to smo imali jedan problem i tijekom pauze, odnosno tijekom probe za ovaj sastanak.
Aha, u redu, evo sad ću ja pokrenuti, samo trenutak.
Broj 3, ako nije problem.
Evo, nadam se da svi vidite, evo imamo jedno kratko pitanje za vas, pa evo zanima nas kakvi će biti odgovori.
Da. Budući da je svrha ovog sastanka i da vas što bolje podržimo sada ovim naporima prema digitalizaciji, pa evo imamo jedno pitanje za vas za početak, a vjerujem da će i gospodina Milinovića zanimati budući da se spominjalo tijekom njegove prezentacije. Jasmina, jel možeš ili da probamo jedno drugo rješenje sada?
Može. Dakle, evo prema podacima Europske komisije, Hrvatska je na kojem mjestu zemalja sudionica po uključivanju hrvatskih visokih učilišta, odnosno nositelja EČE, u mrežu Erasmus Without Paper i većina vas, odnosno 35% sudionika, odgovorilo na 15. mjestu. Što eto, nije baš jako optimistično. Malo se nešto mijenja, ali eto i dalje većina vas misli da smo na 15. mjestu, međutim mi smo zapravo unutar prvih 5 zemalja. Eto, tako da eto, barem evo u nečem smo
doza optimizma
u europskom vrhu. Evo, hvala vam puno na sudjelovanju u ovom prvom dijelu. Imat ćemo sada kratku pauzu od 15 minuta, pa evo molim sve da se vrate ponovno, dakle u 12 sati i 5 minuta.